Der Audi Berlinale Lounge, ganz ein besonderer Abend für mich, nachdem ich jetzt hier fast 10 Tage jeden Abend und jeden Nachmittag reden durfte, freue ich mich besonders, dass nochmal so viele Leute hierher gekommen sind. Das Panel wurde auf Englisch angekündigt, deswegen werde ich jetzt auf Englisch wechseln, oder das, was für mich mein Englisch ist. Wenn ihr eine Frage habt, if you have any question, this is a microphone, honestly.
Das ist dann dein...
Oh, no, so. Secrets? You can ask anytime questions, just raise your hand and then you will get the microphone. Yes, and I think that's all. Game changers, the power of documentary today. You can read it over here. With 93 films, documentary films comprise around a quarter of the 70th Berlinale program. Not only in festivals, documentaries are getting more and more attention. Heino Decker, founder and CEO of a production company and owner of his world sale Decker Distribution is here. Martina Zöllner, head of documentary and fiction programming at public broadcaster Airbnb. And they will discuss about the blessing and about the curse of streaming services such as Netflix, Amazon and Prime. Welcome, both of you. Das ist ja euer Einsatz gewesen? Ja? Ja? Das disappointment, this word. And then we have Thibaut Atkins and Lisa Weber, who both have their latest documentaries screened in the Berlinale section Panorama, and they will tell us about their motivation of making documentaries. Heino, you are founder and CEO, as I told you before, of the film production company Maya.de, which produces documentaries and fiction films which won several prizes on festivals worldwide. You also run your own world sales for documentaries, Decker Distribution. One of the films you are handling is Honeyland, a Macedonian documentary film. Before we start talking about this film, let's have a look into the trailer.
Važno još 20 kila da izvadi.
Honeyland received numerous prizes at award shows in Europe and the United States. It was the only film to win 3 different awards at the Sundance Film Festival, so very, very successful. I think this is a perfect example of the growing perception of documentaries, especially in cinemas. Is this just my feeling, or are there more documentaries in cinemas nowadays?
First of all, this film was really a game changer because it did not only win Sundance 3 awards, it was nominated, the first film that was ever nominated for Best Documentary and Best Foreign Film. That never happened before. Mm-hmm. For the question, if it was, if there are more films in cinema now than there were before, yeah, but that is not good. There are more documentaries in cinema than before in Germany, and that is not a good tendency. It's a very bad one. We kill each other. There are far too many films in cinema, which has to do with German regulations. I don't know how many people were here from Germany, but we have a regulation that when we get a special fund, and everybody wants that fund because it's money, then you have to bring your film to cinema. And this comes up then in the end with far too many films in cinema. So that is not a good tendency, which has a lot to do with just stupid regulations that we have. In America it's different. In America there are really more documentaries, and there are especially also more successful documentaries. Last year was La La, but the year before was a very, very good year for American documentaries in cinema. We had that year, I think, 3 or 4 even films that did more than 10 million turnover in the cinemas, and that's in America a point where you say, well, that's a success, a real success, and there were 4 of them. And that gives a lot of attention to documentary films in America. And we just said before here, we talked already with each other, the prices are rising enormously for documentaries. You can read now all the films that are just sold here also, which were here at the festival and which was sold by, for example, Neon. Neon was the same distributor that did Honeyland in North America, but also Parasite. Parasite, do you say Parasite? Parasite and Honeyland, and they bought here, for example, Gunda, also a documentary that was running here. So, and the prices are absolutely different than they were years before, definitely.
But to come to your first point, do you say that the quantity in the cinemas goes with a lack of quality?
Well, this is a very special thing in Germany, so I don't know if that's really...
Perhaps you can explain it, why not?
We don't have, like in France, they have a clear division between cinema and TV. So when you start a project, you already decide if you go to TV or if you go to cinema. In Germany, as we don't have the funding system as in France, for example, with the CNC, where you can also get money for TV films, we don't have that. We have more or less only cinema funding. So the pressure that your film that you get money for is also going to cinema is here a lot harder. And especially we have one fund that is called the FFF, which is an automatic fund, and if you get that, then you have to go to cinema, which comes out in that we have more than, I think, 160 starts of documentaries last year in Germany in cinema, which is, of course, nobody can watch them. Mm-hmm. Okay. Healthy would be something like 50 films a year. That would be probably a healthy relation. And then it comes that you read, okay, 4 new starts on Thursday, 4 documentaries, and you read them and you don't know really which one is now really good, because a lot of them are also not so good. They were made more or less for, sorry to say, for TV, and they were not really made for cinema. It's more a kind of TV style documentary. And then people go to the cinema and they are disappointed, because it's not really a cinema film, it's more a TV film. And this brings us into a situation that we are losing audience, because they don't know automatically which of the 4 is really now the film we have to see. So Honeyland made in Germany, now we are around 20,000 admissions, I think. In Holland the film made in a shorter period of time, now already 35,000, and it will probably go up to 50,000 in a small country like Holland compared to Germany. And this is something very special in Germany, which is not good. We definitely have to solve this somehow, that not so many films come to cinema, but find a way in getting another kind of distribution through streamers, platforms, whatever.
Speaking of that, how did the landscape of documentary films change through streaming services? We talked about it.
Well, see, streamers have have one thing that they are famous for, and that's normally TV series. So everybody goes to Netflix because they want to see the new series there. But very often, after a while, people are asking themselves, well, I saw now this series and this, there is nothing more. And that is where documentaries or big fiction films are coming in. Because that is something, for example, Roma, as a fiction film, is not a film that the normal audience of Netflix wants to see. But anyway, Netflix is paying an awful lot of money for that film to bring it in. Because then the people have the feeling when they saw the third series and are a little bit starting to get a little bit tired, they see, oh, there's also this Roma film, which I heard so much about, which was Oscar nominated, which was in Venice and won Venice, and yeah, something like that. And the streamer found out that they can do something like that also with documentaries, but a lot cheaper than Roma. So what they do is they buy films or try to produce also films, because normally also they don't produce them. They put a Netflix film in the very last moment. It's very often happening, and then the film is already done by other companies. Also Roma was not produced by Netflix. American Factory was not produced by Netflix. It was bought by Netflix from a company that made the film, and both times it was, by the way, Participant Media. Roma and the documentary that just won the Oscar, American Factory, were both produced by Netflix film. So what they can do is they can put it there and say, look, we also have these Oscar films. And that is something that helps them. And the prices are going up because they are in competition with the normal distributors. But the normal distributor has to have a film, has to bring it out into the cinema, and has to make it its money back. But Netflix doesn't have to make its money back. They don't care. They buy something else a little bit cheaper, and then they just have these Oscar sign. And when we look at other companies, which are even bigger in that when it comes to documentaries, is a company like National Geographic. National Geographic had last year, if you maybe remember this film Free Solo, which won also the Oscar. And the campaign they made around the film, I would say we could make in Germany probably 50 films for that. Oh. Maybe even more. Only for the money they put into the campaign. And the same as them, they don't have to make the money back like a normal distributor. But out of that, also the other distributors are getting into a competition with them, of course. So Neon, A24, all these companies who are active. A24 starts to be active now in documentaries. Neon is doing that already. They have to pay a lot more than they have to pay 3, 4, 5 years ago. Well, it started more or less in 2013, I think.
So in economics, they say competition is good for the market. In this place, it's worse. Did I get it right?
No, it's fantastic for us. I'm a producer.
Okay.
For me, it's fantastic. I'm a producer. I made now the 5th film with an American company, and I get budgets together for films, which I would have never done before. I mean, a documentary stopped when it came to budgets in Europe at 1 million. That was more or less the highest you could get in the last years. I mean, everything must have come together. It depends a little bit on the country where you're based. If you're based in Switzerland, you could get more, just because they have more, and they can always get into Germany and Austria, so they had very good chances to get a lot more money. The Honey film that from Switzerland, I think, had also already a budget that was clearly over 1 million, wasn't it? Yeah. And some Austrians also make it sometimes, but that was more or less the highest level you can get. We are making now, I mean, Human Flows from I was a 4.3 million budget. Aquarella, which I did, was more than 2 million. So these are levels which we could not get before. And of course, the quality of the films are also getting better by that. And I don't speak about single films now. I mean it more general, because you can say about all the films something which is might not so good or whatever. But of course, if you have more money in general, also the quality of your films will get better.
Talking about streaming service before, let me get to you, Martina Zöllner. Since 2019, you're head of documentary and fiction programming at public broadcaster RBB. Before that, you have been head of main section film and documentary at SWR. So many experiences. How do streaming services affect your work?
Well, they challenge us in many ways. I represent, let's say the old public broadcasting system. For anybody who is not familiar with the ARD, the complicated ARD system in Germany, RBB is a part of it. It's like the BBC, it's the oldest public broadcaster we have in Germany. And we stand for, we co-produce many, many documentaries, of course, cinema documentaries, as well as television documentaries, but we stand for the linear channeling, the linear programming, and now, since very few years, everything changed. Because everybody, I look at you, are very young on average, you don't watch linear television anymore. You watch on demand. I watch on demand. So we have to bring good content, quality content, public broadcaster content, good journalism, good documentaries, good fiction also, by the way, to the platforms, to our Mediathek, as it's called in Germany. And our Mediathek is really not as, let's say, well to handle as the Netflix or other platforms, streamers are, but we are working on it. So this is one challenge we have in general, but we also are challenged in a positive way, because documentaries, I would say, are not only never have they been more expensive, but they have never been better, I think. I think never have documentaries, creative documentaries, been more attractive than nowadays, which has to do with few things, the digitalization in production and post-production, of course. You can do anything now. You can do CGI, you can work with a mobile in 4K, you can shoot, you get access to places, very intimate situations you can cover with not a big team like it was in the earlier times. You can shoot, in a way, high quality, which you couldn't do before. So a lot of things, the more expensive post-production, subject-wise, more international subjects. Not only the world that has become more global, but also the documentary subjects have become more global. We have now more documentaries which are shot, which deal with subjects, with themas, where you have to shoot all over the world to cover them. So all that makes and very important and very disturbing, very annoying archival footage, not only in Germany, but in Europe, I think in the US as well, has become so much more expensive per minute, per second, than it was, let's say, 10 years ago. This is a big thing, if you want to do a big archival-based narration, documentary narration, you have to pay so much just to get the rights, especially for cinema, the world rights. This is really, really annoying and disturbing. And I hope that especially the state archives will lower their prices on the long run. I really, really would think that this is necessary. But all this makes documentaries more expensive, and we, the public broadcaster, we cannot compete with Netflix and Amazon and others. We cannot have this budget. We cannot provide these budgets. So what do? We co-produce. We cooperate amongst each other. We cooperate internationally with BBC, with other European broadcasters, and with film funds. This makes the financing of movies we would love to have more complicated than when you go to Netflix and Amazon and so on. So that's our situation.
So, like Babylon Berlin was a co-production between Sky One and the pay TV broadcaster and the ARD, a German, you talked before, public broadcaster. Could you think of similar co-productions with documentaries? You did it already, yes?
In principle, yes, of course, but there is a but. The more we go also for on-demand releases, namely for content, for documentaries, which we publish on our ARD Mediathek, for instance, the more we compete with, you know, Netflix and others who also want to go online with their content. They only go online with their content. Mm-hmm. And this is the future for us. I mean, it sounds dramatic, but linear television is dying. Linear television, maybe 10 years, then it's over. Then we will have a platform, or exist on a platform, or not exist anymore. So that means that cooperations with other platforms for us get more and more difficult.
And how measures RBB or ARD the success of a documentary film when you broadcast it in a linear TV? Is it the quotes, or how do you measure it?
Not with ratings, although I would lie if I said ratings do not play a role. Of course, anybody want to have an audience. And if your documentary does not have good ratings, almost nobody sees it, you are frustrated, of course. But documentaries, you know, creative documentaries, they are art forms. They are unique pieces of art, or between art and journalism, let's put it like that. If you win awards, if you create a public discussion, a public debate, if you have something which really is relevant for the current, for the contemporary discussions, you are happy. So it's rating, but not rating only.
When I come in here, it's this Berlinale was the first time that somebody who was in the same position as you, but for another channel, said the first time I'm not so much interested in ratings anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think that really changed. I mean, we were talking about this for ages. And now suddenly I have the feeling that in the broadcasters, suddenly a discussion starts that maybe these ratings is not so interesting anymore. Maybe it's far more interesting what comes out of it in a form of discussion, or in a form for other audiences like festivals winning something. Mm-hmm. And that this starts to, I think this has to do with also the upcoming of the streamers, because you need something that is your brand. Yeah. That was National Geographic and Netflix trying to buy in. This is a natural thing that normally public broadcasters have, because they are doing it far longer than these streamers. They are so much longer in the business on making the documentaries. Mm-hmm. That they maybe start now, to be optimistic, start now really to look at this from another point. I think we are in that period where they find it out now. Mm-hmm.
Timo and Lisa, you both have, do you want to say anything? You want to say something? Please.
I just wanted to say one thing. I've seen fantastic things, also fantastic documentaries on Amazon and on Netflix, mostly on Netflix, but I also saw quite a few things which I, as a commissioning editor, I also commission, of course, would not have accepted or agreed. You know, portraits. There are quite a few long portrait films of, let's say, Lady Gaga or people like that, but they are a bit propagandistic, you know. They don't keep they are like promo films. This is published on Netflix, like nothing. We wouldn't do that. There are other things where the quality is a bit questionable, you know. Also like factual entertainment, a lot of true crime, a bit predictable, you know. I want to catch the voyeuristic, the fear of the audience. We wouldn't do that as good commissioning editors, you know. So I think the image of Netflix is so positive, but there is a lot of at least questionable quality stuff also in the documentary field there. Mm-hmm. And last thing, for me, my vision of, let's say, what we can do as public broadcasters on the long run for documentaries is to curate them on our own platform, to stand for quality documentaries, to accompany them like a good publishing house accompanies good books, you know, to support, and then to say, okay, this is our selection, and everything is well selected, and these are the documentaries we offer, and for free, and that's what my vision is, and I hope we will get there.
A bit like Mubi. Do you know Mubi? Mubi is a platform which curates a very arthouse selection of films, and I find that quite refreshing if it has a it's things that you can't find elsewhere. You'd have to go to a cinema, you have to find them, and I think that's where the public broadcasters really have a role to play.
Yeah, that's what I hope I can do. I don't know that.
Oh, you should see all my films in there.
Thibaut and Lisa, you both have documentaries shown in Berlinale Panorama this year. Perhaps let's first have a look at a clip of each of them so that we got an idea of your work. I'll start with
Five, 3, 6, 9, 33, 32. But now, la casa rana o kawana le China, le na le motivo. Li disa jalo ka Mosotho bana di dale Sotho. Utlweka ke ntse ka banjwana. Utlweka o tla ba a moetsi boemo ba rona. Kapa o la casa rana o kawana Mosotho. Ana le wholesale jalo ka le China. A trade a le boemo bo phaneng. Rata hore bontate ba ma China ba tlisa ka ntle ba go ruta ona ba isa di wholesale ba le le gona tla se bo ba ruta ona ke gomo di etsa bang ka ba ruta ntse tsa gona mona le ba tsmotse ba le ga kopa na le bona mme jale ha re ya mo ile ma China he lona he ga rute ba tle ba tsebe lo ithoka mhloma ka kwa China se di ithoka le bolela ka mogore ka bolela nga teng e tla le go tine hantle mo re mo batlang se tla mo lata ntate mo wa China mona ke mo tsalaka ke ratle mona re sele mo mona ke mo riso ga hey ke tla ga China di ke tla ile bolela go tla le ba twa ba ka di dodi di jwa he mame kom to FM he ke mona mane ke go tswala pele wena mona mo tlhanga ke mo ratang ha holo na tlhoke san sa wena o ya ka tla bina le mo rata pine nyena ha re tshwes ispa
you. Stop. Can we pause machen, bitte? Just press pause. Yes. Perhaps you want to tell us something about the film, just short.
Okay, I feel like George Michael wearing this thing here.
Oh, okay.
So the excerpt you just watched is from my film called Days of Cannibalism, which is a contemporary documentary western that takes place at the frontier between China and Africa. What I mean by western is, you'll find out by watching the film. But yeah, I mean, I think this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Lisa, do you want to say something before, or do we? No. Okay, then first the trailer, please.
Was sagen wir jetzt da haben, ja? Wolltest du an? Ha?
Da?
Ganz oben. Oben.
Da?
Nein.
Da? Papa! Der war hier. Danke, dass du ihn raufschickst. Ich habe eine Überraschung für und du schickst ihn rauf.
Was schicke ich immer rauf?
Also, ich sag, ich bin noch nicht fertig mit Herrichten. Ich habe alles geschnitten und er sieht das davor. Weißt du, wie es mir jetzt geht?
Erst hat meine Tür aufgemacht, ich bin nicht dran.
Trotzdem kannst du viel noch machen, oder? Halt du deine Fresse. Ich habe das extra hergerichtet und gerne, das sieht seine Überraschung davor.
Lass mich weiter anstellen, du Alter. Hast du nicht die Großschnitte so Alter? Bullshit.
Was machst du jetzt? Weil ich gegen die kleine 6 Monate und Tag drauf. Schleim dich, du brauchst nicht mehr warten. Wiedersehen.
Wiedersehen, Alter. Wiedersehen. Frankie, das sind die Goschen, jetzt geht mal, Alter.
I think it's a good example of the film, and it relates to something I wanted to say anyway, because scenes like this you get them if you just spend a lot time with the people you're portraying, and yeah, concerning financing. I was thinking when you were talking about it before, because I can only talk about the situation in Austria, and I was very lucky because you get funding from the state, and then once you have it, you're free to do whatever you want, really. I mean, you have to write a lot of concept before. Yeah. And And but during shooting, I was really free to do whatever I want, and I'm really grateful for that, because I never had the pressure of having to think about, oh my God, who is gonna watch it, and will people watch it and stuff. I mean, now I'm concerned with questions like this, but I'm really grateful that it was, or it still is possible to shoot movies in Austria like this because of the state funding. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, and that's my film. Please come and watch it. It's still on tomorrow and on Sunday. It's about a family.
Both of you mainly make documentaries. Why do you make them? What do you find fascinating about that?
I was thinking earlier when Heino was talking about, I think my documentaries are not classical documentaries. I bring a lot of fiction into my films. They're quite hybrid, and they're a lot about the process of the filmmaking. So they're not what you would say, they're not really concerned with what's true and what isn't true. They're more about being a film. And that is what I find so interesting about documentaries, that for me it is a much more playful material that I can work with than fiction. I find one can be really, really creative in documentary filmmaking. And that is why film festivals are really important for us, because that's where you can, that's a curated spaces where your films can be shown, and they can be shown on a large screen with a good sound, as they should be seen. And that's why the Berlinale, but like more and more film festivals are coming up, and I find that a very good thing. And I find that there used to be documentary film festivals and fiction film festivals, and now the film festivals are mixing. Like Film Marseille in Marseille shows fiction films, and took out the word documentary. So I really believe that for documentary to be alive and strong in the way I like it, the boundaries between fiction and documentary should merge.
So for your work, do you think it's important to see it in cinemas because you see big screens and good sound?
I think it works the best that way, yeah. But I have a video projector at home, so maybe
Lisa, what fascinates you?
I just wanted to agree, and yeah, I see it with myself. I watch films differently in cinema. You know, there's just, you bring more attention to it when you decide to go there and sit down and pay your 10 euros or whatever. Yeah. So, what was the question? What fascinates me about documentary filmmaking?
Yeah.
Well,
making them.
I have the feeling I never made the decision to do documentary films. With every film I make, it always starts, I feel like, with something I really want to film, and sometimes that's a story I have in mind. And with this example, it was a family that I've known for over 10 years, and so it was kind of the best way to capture them by just spending time with them and doing an observative documentary. But I don't want to say limited myself, but or maybe let's say I also don't really have these boundaries in my head, and it's just, in first place there's something I want to show or share, and then I think about how to do it, and yeah.
I can only confirm that, because we work together a lot with film schools, and I feel also in the film schools the distinction between the classic documentary study and the classic fiction study kind of changes, and the youngers, they demand, they want to write a literary story, they want to do a documentary, they want to do a hybrid, whatever. It's just the story that counts, and you can do anything. And you are absolutely right. The forms also intermingle. It gets more and more, a mix, and that's a beautiful development. And it's no coincidence that in the competition, also in the big competition of like Berlinale, there are 2 documentaries. As understood, in the competition they compete with feature films.
I think this is very much also a discussion out of the industry. In the industry, that we make the difference between fiction and documentary. My son was 14 years old, so it's already a little bit longer ago, and he went to the cinema and saw a documentary, and he came back and I said, wow, you watched a documentary? And he looked at me like, what is the question? I was in the cinema and I saw a film. And I think we overdo it also with these kind of differences.
So we talked before about the competition. Do you feel competition not in quality or in creativity, but when it comes to raise money for your films or to get supporters?
Yeah, I think that's interesting because if we ask for documentaries to be put on the same level as fiction, I mean that suddenly I'm pitching my documentary idea against Claire Denis, you know. So suddenly I find myself, you know, in the fiction world, and I don't have Tom Cruise who I can use to sell my film, but somebody who looks like Tom Cruise in, you know, in Guangzhou. So we lose an advantage we had, which made things easier, especially in the 90s, you know, when kind of the golden era of public documentary broadcasting. But I think that's where I work a lot with in France, because France has a very wide range of budgets for smaller to medium to smaller budget films, you know, and the wider the range of the financing possibilities, the better. And my films don't have to be very expensive, you know, I just have to be able to make them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Help me out. What?
It's when it comes to finance your projects, is there more competition than years ago? Because there are more documentaries now.
Well, one thing is that when finance documentaries means that you have to write a script now as well. You know, and you have to kind of start presenting a film like a fiction film, even though it hasn't been filmed yet. So you kind of like write what's going to happen, you tell the story, but you obviously, you know, it hasn't happened yet. So
you are cheating.
But it's being creative. So I don't know, I mean, you say that you were also writing a script, so maybe...
No, that's very much a French way, yeah?
You think?
Yeah, it's French and Belgian who are doing this really. They more or less only get money when they deliver minimum 50 pages, 60 pages. Right?
True, yeah. In Germany also?
I can get money with 3 pages and they are good.
No. You will not get
I got
fund money for 3 pages. Really?
I got money for Vitaly Mansky, Russian director. I got money for 3 pages. We delivered 7, but they were all photos, and the text wasn't in the 3 pages.
This millennium?
Yeah, in the beginning of this.
I have a 3-page idea I could give you.
Do you want to add something?
I'm still thinking because this film we made, we got funding for it about 5 or 6 years ago, and so I haven't applied for new funding yet, but you know, you can read on the internet what other films are getting funded, and I always feel like, wow, no one is making a film like I did. And I mean that in the sense of, I feel like, to me it's like a miracle that we got this funding, because yeah, we had to write a lot to get it, but I was really honest and always saying, I just want to film this family. I mean, I said that in, you know, 50 pages, but it kind of somehow worked. And yeah, I'm thankful that no one ever told me, but that's not gonna be successful. They just did it, kind of trusted me, and I feel like this hasn't happened again somehow. Whenever I read who got funding, I always feel like, oh, that's why they think it's gonna be successful, whatever that means. Because next thing is, Austrian films that get into cinema, there is a special funding for the distributors to release a film in cinema. And all these films that go to cinema survive also from state funding. No one is making any money. It's just, so, I don't know, I think it's really weird, this question when they give funding to people to make films and then they tell them, yeah, but this has to be successful. What does that even mean if cinemas also only survive on state funding? Please.
This is the old story. I mean, we talk now about a very new way of looking at it when we come to Netflix, or when I told you about Netflix. And this is the very new way. The old way was, I mean, actually, there was not so much a division between documentaries and film, also not on festivals. The documentary festivals only started in the 80s, most of them, not all. Leipzig was over, but Amsterdam, for example, only started in the 80s. So there was film, and film worked because people went to cinema and saw films. This changed in the 60s. And then what then started was that film funding was coming out. And film funding said for documentaries, not so much for fiction, but especially for documentaries, they said, look, go to the broadcasters, get the money there, because if you bring the film later to cinema, not so many people will see it. So at least we have a broadcaster involved in the film, and there will be an audience for it. And that was, at that time, that was mainly in the end of the 80s, something like that. That was an absolutely right decision. It was absolutely right. I made at that time a documentary that was on one festival, and then nobody ever saw it again. So it was the right decision to ask broadcasters first. But at that time, broadcasters were also different than today. 1986, more or less, broadcasting changed in Germany in a very tragic way, because the public broadcasters were coming up. And all the commercial, thank you very much for, it's 1 week Berlinale or 10 days, I'm tired. The public broadcasters were suddenly having a competition. And the big change at that time was that all these third channel that we had in Germany, which were called at that time Bildungsfernsehen, so TV for people to get education, just didn't exist anymore, more or less from one day to another. And from 1992 on, everything, when you wanted to do something with culture or whatever, the people in the third channel said normally, go to Arte, because then Arte existed at that moment. But also Arte changed. I mean,
he's exaggerating. I have to defend the public television in the 80s. It was still very, very educational and very.
Yeah, it was, and it was. I mean, I always bring this example that at that time, I really started already at that time. I had a documentary, and I went to the third channel. I got 250,000 D-marks from them, and they brought in another third channel, and they brought into it 200,000. So I had only from television at that time 450,000 D-marks, which you should compare nowadays with 450,000 euros, because it's the same amount nowadays, with inflation and everything in it. 450,000 D-marks. This is so far away what you nowadays get for a documentary to do. So the change is really went very, very slowly, and what we see now, and this is the new tendency, is what I described in the very beginning. Television is more and more getting television. They are also not very successful with documentaries very often, we have to say. Especially the ones that are doing very well in cinema are very often not the films that are doing very well on television. And TV is more and more saying, okay, we are television, we are something different than documentary. And if you come with a film like Aquarella, for example, from Victor Kosakowski, this is a film for cinema, and it's made for cinema, and when you see it on something that is so big, you cannot see the film, it's not right.